welcome to LexTalk World Talk Show presented by Clickway Creators. Today we have Mr. Jörg Häring with us. He is General Counsel at Siemens Energy. Jörg Häring is a legal compliance leader with more than 20 years of experience in advising international businesses, based on a private practice background with US law firm Cleary Gottlieb. He has accumulated 18 plus years of in-house experience in various functions with the German multinational Siemens. Today, Jörg is an experienced legal advisor to top management who combines a broad base of legal expertise with a thorough business understanding. He is also an experienced builder and leader of legal teams and has a proven track record of leading change. His co-workers describe Jörg's leadership style as inspirational and based on empowerment as well as empathy while giving a clear strategic direction. Thanks so much for joining us, Mr. Häring. We are pleased to have you with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So we would be interested to know more about your personal and professional background.
Okay, so to begin with, I am a German national, but lived abroad quite a bit during the bit of my life that has passed so far. I spent a year in Venezuela during my university times, and with a US law firm, I was in Brussels, in Belgium. But basically for the last 18 years, I was with Siemens, a big German multinational corporation. And the beauty of Siemens is that the company is so big that you can do very many things without having to change employers. With probably any other employer, I would have needed to switch to jobs 2 or 3 times in order to do all the different things that I've been able to do within Siemens. And the background of that is that I have been seen a little bit as somebody who can handle and lead change. So especially for the last 10 years, I think I have been sent from one sort of change hotspot to the next. In 2006, many people know that there was the big compliance crisis in Siemens. And I was asked to join a project office for the compliance investigation. There was an independent compliance investigation into Siemens at the time done by a US law firm called Debevoise & Plimpton. And in Siemens corporate legal, there was a project office to sort of support, oversee, coordinate, whatever you want to call it. And that, of course, was thrilling changes, thrilling times of change, thrilling times of crisis management, and a experience I don't want to miss. Then I spent a couple of years in what's today Siemens Healthineers, which at the time was called Siemens Healthcare. And in 2010, I joined Siemens Energy. And again, there was a major task of implementing a change in the organization. So I had basically a legal department, a formal legal department, and a informal shadow, whatever you want to call it, legal department somewhere in the business that those two needed to be integrated in one. Of course, with a lot of psychology, with a lot of emotions around how can you create a team of 2 teams that have been working against each other rather than together. And then a couple of years later, divisions got merged. A couple of years later, pools got created. So we had a system within Siemens Legal where all lawyers that worked on commercial projects, regardless of which business they worked for, were part of a project lawyers pool. All lawyers that worked on IP and technology were part of a technology pool. So I had to run the project lawyers pool of 220 people at the time, and of course also inspire them to sort of see the value of such a pool and implement ideas that actually make such a pool work. And then, now recently I joined from energy, I joined a very different operational company within Siemens called Digital Industries, where again, we had to create a global legal team anew. That was in 2019. And then in late 2019, I came back to Siemens Energy with the task of creating a 600 people global legal and compliance team for Siemens Energy, because Siemens Energy, as some of you may know, is about to be spun off into a separate stock listed company that will then only be minority held by Siemens. Privately, married, one daughter, living in the south of Munich. What else can I say? Maybe enough for now.
Yeah, that's perfect. So you have a very vast journey in the legal industry space, and I can say that you have inspired a lot of people during this journey. So it's a wonderful to have you with us. So the next question is, what do you think are the most important parameters in successfully positioning a legal department within a company? So you can give an example from Siemens.
Yeah, that's actually a nice question. As a legal leader, it is very important. Of course, many things are important, but one very important aspect of legal leadership is that you need to understand where you want to go with your department. And I think for legal and compliance, absolute key and a non-negotiable when you start leading and positioning a legal department is that legal has to be close to the business. Legal can't be sitting in an ivory tower and responding to legal questions that the business may have. There needs to be an interwoven relationship between legal and compliance on the one hand and the business on the other. There needs to be a mentality within your legal and compliance department that generally, yes, you are there to protect the company, but above all, you are a business enabling function. So what you need to do is you position your department as a department that enables good business. But, yes, good business is only compliant business, and only, business where you manage legal risks is good business. But what's even more important is that general aspect that you need to be a department that understands its own role as a business enabler. So that's one. Second, I think, is a relentless performance orientation. You need to have this hate to lose mentality so that your people really, really also make difficult deals possible and don't easily say, no, it's not going to work. That is another very important one. Then I think the third important one is that you don't allow any silo thinking. You don't allow this us versus them, neither within your legal and compliance function, but also not within the company. It is not us as legal and compliance and them as the business. It is, we're all together. It is, silo thinking basically kills collaboration. And that's very important to sort of also make very clear to your people. Then, of course, zero tolerance regarding safety and compliance, also very important. That comes to the enabling good business part. And then I think diversity, or actually rather inclusiveness, as the foundation of how we work is just as important. And the sixth and last aspect that I would like to mention is that in today's world and COVID-19 about this, you need to be much more open than we as lawyers maybe used to be in the past in terms of enabling new ways of work.
Right. Rightly said. So all the points are very important, and it's a great learning for our viewers. And one more thing, can you tell us what makes a good lawyer?
Yeah. What makes a good lawyer? I think this is now, basically a little bit mirroring what I just said about the strategic positioning, but not from the view of myself as a leader of such a department, but, looking at if I am a lawyer in such a department, what do I need to do to be successful? I think, first of all, I need to understand in strategic terms, what is my sweet spot? In the past, you had in-house lawyers of very different kinds in terms of some only managed outside counsel, some tried to position them as an in-house law firm, others try to position themselves as business partners. So I really need to understand what's my sweet spot. And I think the sweet spot of the in-house lawyer lies at the intersection between legal knowledge and business savviness. Because, there are a lot of smart lawyers out there in the world, in private practice and wherever. But you as an in-house lawyer are uniquely positioned for that one client you work for. Because over years and years and years, you've come to learn and understand their culture, their business. So at this very intersection of your legal knowledge with your understanding of that business that you acquire because you only always work for that one client, that basically makes you unique. So it all starts with legal knowledge and expertise, but that needs to be very well combined with your business savviness so that you don't basically, respond to legal questions with a very legalese type of answer. But, you may then go like, okay, the plan you're having, dear business partner, is a difficult one, but what is it that you actually want to achieve here? And I can try and help you with a solution. That is basically how you turn this whole thing around. That, of course, needs a lot of diligence because you don't only, work in the law, you also work very much in the facts. So you need to work with the business to actually understand the set of facts that you're dealing with, because that only will then enable you to design the solution that the business needs. And I think diligence is often underrated. Many people think of the in-house lawyers as, when you really need diligence, you go to a law firm. And that's not true. It's so not true, because you need to have that specific diligence that enables you to actually go from I give an answer to I give a solution. And that needs diligence, and it also needs a lot of commitment. You want to be seen as somebody who has skin in the game. You don't want to be seen as somebody who, tells the business, this is a business decision, you need to decide. I tell you what the risks are. You want to see as somebody who really bleeds with the business. And I think that the core of that is that you need, this also goes back to the you work for one client thing. You need to show that client many, many, many times that you go the extra mile to make a difficult project possible. Because then when there is this one instance where you say, sorry, this is not something we can do, it doesn't work, then actually over these many times that you've gone the extra mile, you will have created the trust, the level of trust that then gives your no a lot of gravitas and acceptance, because they know you don't easily say no. So that's very important. Then in that sense, it is also very important to be an advocate, not a referee. Many lawyers very often try and put themselves into the referee position. I tell you, this is what the law says. And I always try to tell my people, you want to be an advocate. If your business partner wants to do something, you first want to find arguments why that works. and not first tell them what the problems are. Of course, eventually, if there are challenges, you need to deal with them and you need to discuss them. But, don't make your life easy by putting yourself into the referee position. Then you should have become a judge and not an in-house lawyer.
Right.
And then, of course, the clarity of your communication is very important. As lawyers, very often we pride ourselves in mastering complexity. This is very tricky, and there are voices in jurisprudence that say this. Don't go there. I very often tell my business partners, eventually this is a very simple trade-off. This is your problem, dear business partner. These are the solutions, these are the pros and cons, and eventually it all boils down to a trade-off. Do you want to have more process safety, or do you want to have more customer proximity, or whatever it is eventually? And eventually you also need to have an opinion. Don't say it's a business decision. At least go there and say, and if I was in your shoes, I would take option A or option B. Business partners appreciate that you don't stand on the sidelines, but that is also showing your willingness to take ownership for the legal issues. That means also you have to have a courage to make legal decisions. Of course, you never replace the business partner. Eventually, the business partner is the one who has the profit and loss responsibility and has to stand in. But you tell them, if I were in your shoes, I would go for A or B. And if you do all that as a good in-house lawyer, then you will probably establish a level of trust with your partner that then goes into an high-level relationship that can be very, very beneficial to the success of the business. That's it.
Wow, rightly said. So you have shared a lot of learnings for our viewers, especially one should have a zeal to go for extra miles, and clarity of communication is also very important, and a lot of learnings. So the next question for you is how the technology sector in the European region is impacting due to COVID-19, and what solutions do you foresee from a legal perspective?
Yeah, that's a very actual question.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, I think European technology and infrastructure companies have to cope with operational issues. I mean, you have to keep your people safe, but still you have to keep the lights on. There is actually a very nice initiative in Siemens Energy, hashtag keep the lights on, where we have a very broad range of stellar examples how, for example, our service technicians make sure our customers can still properly run their power plants amid the COVID-19 situation. And of course, these operational issues are very important. How can you, on the one hand, make sure your people are safe, and on the other hand, keep the lights on? Also, a lot of operational issues relate to shortfalls that we're encountering due to COVID-19, like supply chain problems and all these things. And then beyond the operational issues, of course, you have legal issues. Legal issues, of course, start with compliance in terms of complying with COVID-19 regulations that unfortunately vary widely from country to country, even within the EU. And, maybe I shouldn't be saying unfortunately. Some countries are much more affected by the pandemic than others, so maybe regulations need to vary. But of course, there is a little bit of a puzzle within Europe that you need to play with all the local regulations that you want to comply with. But on the other hand, you also want to make sure you properly tap into the national and European wide support programs that are now starting to become available. I mean, this is going to end into a massive macroeconomic shock for the European economies, just like probably all economies in the world, I would think. And European EU member states are really working very hard to make sure they can cushion that macroeconomic shock a little bit. So for you as an in-house lawyer, it's going to be very important to advise your company on how that company can tap into those support programs. And then, of course, there are a lot of business-specific legal topics that vary from, you know, what your business is like. I mean, there was a big discussion in Germany about a sports good company, Adidas, that basically sent letters to all their landlords where they had their stores that they wouldn't pay the rent anymore because they couldn't open the stores. You know, and you know, that may be their issue. Of course, it was a huge shitstorm hitting Adidas that they did that. But you know, in our business, I must say, in Siemens Energy, a lot of the business-specific issues go around the question of force majeure. Because when you have large power plant projects or even system supplies, and you know, you need to really properly design force majeure clauses for new business. You need to look into your existing contracts and claim force majeure where possible. So there is this big sort of force majeure clauses in times of pandemic situations, you know, raised to an importance that they've never seen before. And then I would think there are chances for some businesses. I mean, it's very obvious that, you know, diagnosis, therapy, vaccines, there is this World Health Assembly initiative that calls for IP pooling to speed up the search for diagnosis and treatment. But, you know, also there are also less obvious ones. Everything that relates to high technology to support new ways of working that are working from a distance. I mean, all those cloud companies, all those companies that offer teleworking opportunities, be it communication programs, be it data sharing programs, collaboration platforms, virtual, everything that's virtual is now much more valuable than before COVID-19. And then I think the last one is one that we may be underestimating as of yet, but that I think eventually will be the biggest challenge and the biggest change that COVID-19 brings. It will forever change the way we work. The culture of European companies, of many European companies, has still been somewhat presence-oriented. You know, that people would, for work, one would come to the office. And, you know, many managers would expect many of their employees to be somewhere around them. That's going to change entirely. I'm so sure even once everyone can go to an office again, and then, you know, we have maybe a vaccine or whatever, this virtual way of working has proven to work so well that there will be a lot more use, and teams will be much less also location oriented. You know, I mean, we at Siemens Energy have already been quite spread out, but, you know, many European companies have not. And they had a lot of, location orientation. So one team supposedly had to be in one location. That's going to change completely, I think.
Yeah. Hope this pandemic will get over soon, and we will definitely resume our work from the offices.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question is, as a legal profession, what are the core values you truly believe in? You can tell us any 3 core values you believe.
Yeah, okay. I think it's, I mean, the obvious one that probably, you know, every lawyer or a compliance professional you ask that question to is integrity. Integrity gives you the credibility and gives you the leverage to make sure what we discussed at the beginning, that you don't only enable some business, but that you enable good business. So you need to be very good at having a sound moral compass that makes you understand when you're crossing red lines. You know, it is one thing to make a difficult project possible, but it is another one to cross red lines. And, you know, red lines sometimes can be a bit murky, but you need to be the one that basically turns the murky into clarity for your business partners. So, and that's what you need, a backbone of ethics and moral soundness of your compass, because only that then enables you to sort of play that role of integrity and instill also a compass of integrity into your business. So that's one. I think the second one is inclusiveness. I mean, many say diversity, but I'd rather say inclusiveness in the sense of that my experience at least has shown that your team works much better if you don't have all your think-alikes. And I mean, Europe or some countries in Europe are very focused on gender diversity, but there is much more to it. I mean, it's different ways of thinking. It's different cultural background. It's different, whatever, sexual orientations, whatever you have, that everyone feels welcome and everyone has the same opportunity to contribute to the success of your function, to contribute to the success of the business. And I think that's a very important foundation of how a good legal and compliance function works. And the third is clarity. Clarity in the sense of that you don't wobble and sit on the fence on things that people are asking you about, but that you have a clear opinion and also are able to clearly communicate it. So I think this, you know, what we had before, this clear style of telling your business partner when there is a problem, but also offering a solution and having an opinion of which way you would be going. That clarity in your mind and in your communication is also a very important value that actually makes you successful as a contributor to the success of the business.
Wow. So thank you so much, Mr. Häring, for sharing such great insights with us. And we look forward to having a chat with you again in the future on some other trending topics in the international legal business. And for our viewers, if you like this interview and want to have more coming from the industry leaders, please like, share, and subscribe to ClickWay Creators YouTube channel. This is Abhishek for LexTalk World.